Member Andy Biggs. Congressman, always good to have you. Now, you're against, the government wasting money or pouring good money after bad or bad money after worse, whatever. So this appears to be a good deal of that. But what do you make of it?
Well, I think there's a couple things to remember about this. Number one is that the federal government right now only funds about 14% of all infrastructure in the country. So these people saying that they want to spend a whole lot more, the real crux for us is what I think the president wants, and that is to really go after the regulatory burdens in creating this infrastructure. And I'm 100% behind that. The issue on the $200 billion is where are we going to find that money? How are we going to pay for that?
Yeah, and it comes only after this two-year budget deal. I know you were not a fan of that. That added another 200 to 400, some say $500 billion to spending over the next couple of years just to keep the government lights on during that time. So I'm beginning to wonder whether these numbers are adding up. We could be staring at $1 trillion deficit this year. That's probably a reason why interest rates lately have been backing up, right?
Yeah, look, my calculations indicate we're going to be about $1.2 trillion in structural deficit for this year. That's amazing to me. And so I'm excited that the president is taking the approach that he's taking with the infrastructure plan, because I think that is the right approach. But let's make sure we fund this. Because that last CR was just so, in my opinion, so bad and reckless that we're going to have to deal with the ramification from that going forward.
Yeah, talking about continuing resolutions, and there's certainly a lot of them, so that was the argument for going this route than signing yet another one. But having said that, are you concerned that Republicans have lost their DNA? In other words, that they're not, the one thing that united you guys was your resistance to spending. But now you're spending like crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it, and I am concerned. I just had a senior citizens fair this morning in my district, and believe me, talking to people afterwards, they're all concerned about that. You know, what's the long-term prognosis for this country's spending? And you have basically every American has a debt of over $60,000. That's their portion of that. To me, that's remarkable. And I get very concerned about that. My constituents are concerned. And until we start paring this thing back, it's going to impact maybe long-term the markets.
Well, good luck on paring it back, because that doesn't appear to be happening. So it raises another question as to what changes on Capitol Hill. Democrats hope that they change things on taking over the House after the midterms. I'm sure you have a slightly different view of that. But a lot of Republicans are frustrated with Speaker Ryan. Are you?
Look, I don't say anything bad about anybody who's leading us, but I will say I am extremely frustrated on the appropriations process. I'm extremely frustrated on what came out last week. We sent over a reasonable short-term spending bill. It came back bloated, and we didn't fight it. I would like to have fought that for some real reasons, that we are expanding our debt. I think that the fundamentals of this economy are strong, but when the government is out of control and out of whack spending, we do things like crowd out a little bit in the credit markets. Yeah. These are things that we didn't even take into account, in my opinion, because it happened so quickly. And that goes back to, Neil, this idea that 6 months ago, almost now, the House actually sent appropriations bills to the Senate, and they've never even dusted them off to look at them.
Well, you're right about that. But let me switch a little bit here. Whatever political pressures or problems are developed because of that, are you also worried, sir, that Republicans might have a problem with women? That the way the president has responded and addressed these Rob Porter allegations while standing by him and saying nothing about the women involved, that it has sent, a very mixed signal. And not a productive one with potential female voters who might just think he doesn't get it, he doesn't get them, he doesn't understand them, he doesn't understand the urgency of all of this, he's indifferent to them. What do you think?
I think that is a real problem. We need to communicate better with women. I mean, domestic violence is a serious crime. I used to prosecute those cases, and we need to make sure that we recognize that these are serious allegations. Of course, we want due process. Of course, we want to allow everybody to present their side of the story. But we should never minimize what happens here. And,
do you think
and
the president
victimization.
minimized what happened here?
I don't think he minimized it. I think his focus might have been didn't hit the right tone, I guess, is what I would say.
Okay. Congressman, thank you very, very much. Good seeing you.
Thanks. Good to see you.